very well, but
Okay.
we are live. Hopefully everybody is out there and paying attention today. We are going to talk about sales. You see the gentleman next to me here, Dom, obviously primetime treasure hunter. I should have his link readily accessible right down in the description box as of right now. Before we get into the topic at hand, I just wanted to shout out to those in Patreon. I do have a new video that was just posted. I responded to everybody's other than a few on the community tab, which I will hit up after the show tonight. Let's go right into sales, because on a daily basis since the 12th, I've been swamped with folks having sales issues. I just wanted to bring up one issue before we get into the main topic, which seems to be what's going on a little bit here. Now, if you pay attention to your eBay store and you're looking at your views from on eBay versus off of eBay, you're going to, most everybody I've talked to is noticing a sharp decline. Now, in the past, eBay percentage of views from off-platform versus on-platform have been a 30-70. So 30% coming from off-platform. Well, now that number is down in some cases. I've seen it as far down as 12 from eBay, 12%, and the rest coming from off-platform. Now, the items that, again, eBay's response to, and I've seen a response literally basically stating this, not word for word, but basically the same thing. I don't have it in front of me to give you word for word, but basically that now more of your sales, more attention is being paid off platform, and that's drawing in more people. That's just not the case, because the items in questions and the sellers, including myself, our items already showed up on Google Shopping. They were already on eBay's, even their own list stating all of our items were showing up. So that's not the case. The sales wise, though, are just not coming in for folks who are having these view issues. Now, I've had several people tell me that eBay put them on a list and wrote a number, a number for the actual issue. So if there isn't something going on, why is there a list? That's my take on the views being down. And again, there's days, and I've got probably 24 people who have commented, maybe 3 or 4 dozen by this point, but commented on a couple videos stating that their views totally disappeared. And they're still not getting views even shown up in eBay, when before the 12th, they were getting all that. So that could be an issue with some of this. No fix, no idea what's going on, but there's definitely something going on, because there's no way that overnight that all this more traffic's going to be changing from platform searching versus off-platform searching. If that was the case, that would mean that eBay's nobody's searching on their own platform. That would mean that 70% of people just said, I'm never going to look on eBay, I'm just going to go somewhere else, which isn't good. So if that's what they're trying to say, either way, it looks bad. Again, we're going to leave it at that. I just wanted to put that out there because I've had a lot of people send me stuff on that. I've seen it from my own store, our numbers too. So something's going on. I truthfully feel they will fix whatever it is, but time frame and everything else, who knows? It's fourth quarter. A lot of people are losing sales, hence today's video. So I'm going to swing it over to Dom here, let him introduce himself for those few people that may not know who Dom is, and we will take off the conversation from there.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for coming by tonight for another exciting Don and Dom show. As my name suggests, I love to hunt for treasures. Prefer to find vintage items. So Don and I have that in common. We also share a love of comic books. That's what I specialize in, but I do anything and everything that is vintage, including a lot of ephemera and old toys, posters, you name it. Could be music related items. And I do sell some new things as well. I do a lot of treasure hunting videos on my channel. Particularly love to go to estate sales, but I go to garage sales, rummage sales, and private picks, and all sorts of exciting places. I do some educational videos as well. I update people on things going on in the news also. So there's really a lot of content. I'm getting close to 1,000 videos, Don. So Don is well over 1,000, but I'm getting to the 1,000 club soon. It's gonna be there probably maybe beginning of next year, maybe end of this year. We'll see. And I also run a Facebook group for resellers. It's called the Reselling Resource Center, and we just hit 28,000 people over there. So very busy in the reselling community, and have a lot of fun. So Don and I do this show every month, once a month, and we alternate channels. So we've been doing it for quite a while. We've been friends for a while now, Don.
Heading on 3 years, I think, somewhere in that range. Yeah. It's been quite some time here.
It is.
Just looking at the feed, there's already people saying, including like Daryl, Carolina Picks here, 30 to 40% down. That's typical from what I've seen from people, and those are some of the better sales downages that I've seen. I'll just shoot out a topic, and I'll just flip it right back to you. One thing I personally suggest, and it does seem to work fairly well, eBay likes to see listed items. If you only have a handful of items to list on any given day, try and list ones in every category that you sell. And so, like if you're in 4 major categories, list a couple in each one of those categories to get yourself some action in those. If you can do that every single day, it does seem to get you an increase off of that. Is that something that you have tried out too, Don, by chance?
We try to list every day if we can. When I say we, I'm referring to my wife, Mrs. Primetime, who's been helping out much more in the business this year. And it's actually the first year she's actually been doing listings. And so generally, we're able to get at least something out every day. In fact, I mentioned my reselling group, a shameless plug, but it does dovetail with what you're saying, Don. I do a listing challenge every other month in the group, in which there's some kind of way in which I motivate people to try to list something every day. So this month, we're doing a 1, 2, 3, 4 challenge, which means one day you have to at least post one thing. The second day you post 2. Third day you post 3. Third day you have to post 4, and then you keep cycling 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And people could post their links to their items, and sometimes they make sales and stuff like that. But people who have participated in that event, because we do like a recap at the end of the month, and you go back and look at all the recaps, almost everyone who participated says, I cannot believe the increase in sales that I've had from listing consistently every day.
And even with that, the sales you get from doing that aren't just the new items that you're listing. It shows action on your account, is what I see it as, and stuff. That's what eBay likes. They don't like stagnant, in their mind, stagnant. To me, it's just a long tail item. It should be able to sit there. That's where Google comes in more so, off platform searches, as opposed to eBay, suppressing a listing. And I know they do that. We can prove it. I can prove that eBay suppresses listings. And anyway, I think we've talked about that too with
we have, but do you have a theory as to why they do that?
Now, what eBay says is I'll just run by, I've talked about this with Dom before, and as well as other people who are watching this video right now. I was looking for a record. It was wasn't anything outlandish. Couldn't find a single copy of it looking on eBay itself. I broke a record, or I couldn't sell it. I don't remember the story. I don't remember the whole thing, but I didn't have a record that I sold. So I tried to find it somewhere else. Well, even if I paid more than what I sold it for, I would have done that just to save reputation and make sure the person got it. But anyway, long story short, I found that disc, the record I was looking for, through a Chrome search. Not only 1, but 2 copies of that on eBay, active live, but they didn't show up on eBay at all in every single search term that I looked for. And I'm pretty good on searching. So there's no doubt 100% I can recreate that for I don't know how many items. Dom's seen it. We've talked about this. A lot of people can do the exact same thing. You shouldn't be suppressing views for some reason. Why they're doing it, I personally think nowadays it's the pay-per-click. Because they're auctioning off.
Right, but this has been going on before that. So why were they doing it?
I know it has been going on before it, but again, they've been planning this for quite some time. This isn't something they just threw out there. This could have been 1.5 years or 2 years in the works from when they first started. Again, I've watched some of their discussions on with financials with like Wall Street and those kind of places. This is something they've been planning on every year now, that all they talk about is increasing revenue through innovative means. And it's basically just means they're going to charge us for something else, or find another thing they can service us fees for. Again, I'm not trying to turn this into a bashing for eBay, but I think that's tied to it, because to do the pay-per-clicks, and again, they've been testing this for a while, the system all has to be done over the way it is. It has to be tied more as an item specific versus a category. That's why they got rid of like all the postcard categories, because now they know the item specifics that are going to be hit. They know the ones that are, hopefully they're smart enough to store that information, figure out which ones are going to be searched for the most. Those ones they can tell you're going to have to auction those off, and the prices are going to be high for the pay-per-clicks. That's what I think it is. I mean, there's no other than making it look more like Amazon with, three across instead of like a vertical versus the horizontal three per row now. And I know you know what I'm talking about, because
Right.
it's literally just Amazon now on eBay.
Well, I don't know the exact reason. I mean, we're obviously speculating. It has been going on prior to, a year and a half. So I think there would at least be another reason. What I have heard, and again, it's speculation, is that eBay's algorithm knows how much you can supposedly handle in your business in terms of getting stuff shipped out on time. And so once they sense that you're getting to a level that they don't think you could really go past, that they start suppressing listings to make sure you don't have an experience like you're selling, you know, a significant percentage of your items in one day. I mean, think about it. Who has ever sold half their inventory in one day on eBay? Like, it just they don't it doesn't
I
happen.
can't I can't see that being the case, only because the two that were record sellers have they've been on for years. They have a ton of feedback. They're record dealers. They,
Right,
they were cheap
right,
records, is what I looked at,
right,
and I've looked at probably a dozen or 2 dozen items at the exact same thing.
right. But I know one. There's this one guy, he sells a electronic item, and he sells a ton of it. Just like you're saying about this record person. I mean, he's been on eBay for years, and he's shown data that no matter how much he lists of this electronic item, he just cannot crack a certain
dollar
cap
amount per
number.
day.
Yeah, they will
I've
not
seen that.
let it go over that.
I've seen that. I've
Yeah,
often wondered that with our store at one point
right.
too. It's like YouTube does something similar. They'll cut you off,
Yeah.
and
Don't I know that?
we both exactly. They'll just cut you off one day, and you're done.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter.
That's right.
It's
That's
just like
right.
eBay. For me though, everything dipped and the views dropped off on the 12th, the day that they started that, and it hasn't picked up since. I mean, there's no other way I can say that every other year before this, back, I'd have to go 10 years almost back to have any time that's ever been like this. And a decade's a long time. If I had to judge on listing wise, I had like a quarter of what we have up now or less at that point, and I was still doing far better than we are
Yeah.
today. And they're in items that mostly you wouldn't find on another platform to begin with.
Right.
You
And
know,
by the way, just Jiminy Flippett said, I really hope that that's not the case. How dare they control our capacity? Well, but it actually says it in the user agreement. You could actually
they
see it in there. Their language literally says
they
that
can do whatever they want
they have the right to not show your listings. It
at all.
literally says that.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of hoping or anything. It's just it
Based on
literally
whatever
says it.
reason they want. They can
Right.
any reason whatsoever. They don't have to show any of your listings. But the point of it was with the search results on that record, none of the ones, nothing, there was only 34 or 35 search results that showed up on eBay. None of them matched my keywords at all. The only ones that would were the ones I found from Chrome, the two exact records that I was exactly looking for. And now, if you're going to block something like that when there's only two of them on the whole platform, you're going to lose sellers or buyers per se, because they're going to be like, well, I can't even find it on eBay, but I can find it there. They're going to
Right.
probably run into the cheaper somewhere else. And why would you even want to go to eBay if you can't find what you want on eBay? Again,
Right.
it's the sellers I'm worried about, or the buyers I worry
Right.
about, because we can do what we have to do, but buyers, if they go somewhere else, that means we're going to have to go somewhere else. So
Could I mention another suggestion?
shoot it out.
This is based on a comment that Doing It Wrong put up there. He said, "Is tweaking headers and prices to poke Cassini something we could talk about here?" So I could take that one first, Don, and then
Go ahead, shoot.
pass it on to you, because this is something that I have seen data that, and Don and I are both data driven. We love to see a lot of data. Um, that data backs up this is supportive. This isn't just anecdotal. Is that now you could pick whatever time frame you want. For me, and it's going to depend on how many items that you have in your store, and also the approach that you want to, how you want to use this, whether you want to do automated or going by hand. But if you could, for what we do is we try to go into the store once a week, and we try to adjust something with the listing. It could be changing the price upwards or downwards. It could be changing something in the title. It could be adjusting a picture. It could be anything. If you do promoted, you could adjust the promoted a percentage or two. Whatever it is, it helps refresh your listing, so that it makes it look more active, and that's one of the things the algorithm likes. Now, when I first started noticing this, because I started doing this, I was like, wow, this has really helped. Things that were sitting around for a long time, almost every week, there's a couple of items like that that all of a sudden sell. Or just this a week, Don, I had just the day after. I know someone could say it's a coincidence, but just less than 24 hours after I tweaked my Alpha Flight complete comic book set, I sold it for $330. So, and it had been sitting there, by the way, for a while, for months, and I just had tweaked it the day before. And next thing you know, I make a sale on it, and that happens all the time. So, just at the same time I did this, Craigslist Hunter put out a video showing with data the actual effect of doing this, and he noticed like almost a 50% increase in sales that week. And he's like, for now on, I'm doing this, or I'm having one of my staff members do it once a week. Now, if you don't want to go in and hand do it, because that takes a lot of time,
Bulk at
you
500 at a time.
yeah, you could bulk it. So you could just do like a 5% off if you want, or however you want to do it. So there's
$1 up one week and $1 down the next week.
there you go. Dollar up, dollar down. Right.
I'm serious. I've been telling people to do that for quite some time, and it does work.
Yeah.
We, in some cases, used to put stuff up like in one category, increase it $10 and then lower it 10. Like if you change the title, the photo, or the price, it's going to recalculate where you're at in the search results. No matter what, it has to. There's no other way, because you're going to be in a different spot if they search it by price, or if the photo is different, it's going to be a new interaction on that listing. We bulk at it 500 at a time when we want to do that. Again, 500 up $1, and we'll go through them all. It takes a lot for us to do 30,000 listings, 500 at a time. It's still a long process, but once a week for 25 or so minutes is what it takes. If with the quantity we have, if you have small store, you can do a couple in a couple minutes.
That's right. Yep.
And it does seem to do it, because it's the foundation of the listing. One of the 3 key factors that determine what eBay does with your listings: the title, the photo, and the it's like on Amazon or on YouTube. They your thumbnail, your title, and your description box. That's about all they seem to look at. Same thing. There's like a pyramid of construction for it.
So we have a question in that came in, Don, from Barbarian Kung Fu. Great name. I'll let you take this one first, and then I'll address it, because it does have to do with tip to sell things. People are always curious about promoted listings. Question is, does promoted actually help sell items for more or just faster?
I don't use promoted listings at all, and I won't. I haven't used them in a year and a half or more since the fiasco with ad blocker. I don't use them. I personally don't use them for collectibles and vintage. I personally don't think it's needed. Maybe eBay suppresses my views because I don't use it. I don't know. I don't really care. We can put the stuff somewhere else and sell stuff. When eBay kills us in one category, I just list it somewhere else and just have to wait a little while. What I honestly would recommend, if you're thinking about it in vintage, I would rather suggest you use a sales and markdown. So mark down your stuff 10%, 5%, whatever the case may be. Markdown. We used to do like a third of our store as a markdown. I don't have to pay eBay a dime extra. Instead of marking it down through a promotion, paying eBay a percentage after the markdown, you just do a markdown sale on your own. Anybody clicking on to follow your store can get a notice sent to them, an email notice that says, hey, these items are on sale as well. And usually what happens with that, I'll get a bunch of watchers from it. And that's all I really care about. I don't care if they buy the 5% discount or what, or 10%. It's to get the offers to the watchers. Just because somebody watches it because it's on sale doesn't mean they're ever going to purchase it. So if you can at least directly contact them, offers to watchers is the best game, in my opinion, on eBay. And you get those, you run some sales just enough to get attention for somebody to click, look at your listing, and go from there. And that seems to work incredibly well for us. It's more time in your day. You got to do stuff with it. One more thing too, because I had a bunch of people, and I'm going to hand it back off to you, and you can touch on this too. Somebody was talking about, they sent an offer to somebody. I think it was a Patreon. Do apologize if I'm not remembering the name, but they sent it to somebody and said 0 were sent out. If you wait, if you're sitting there and only send out offers to watchers once or twice a day, from the time you get that chance to send it out to the time you actually are going to send it out, those offers could be gone, even though they still show up in your little column, because that person could have already gotten their limit. Dom was talking about limits. There's a limit on how many offers any potential buyer on eBay is going to get. They may only get 10 offers a day based on their sales. If they only buy, 5 items a week, they're not going to send them 100 offers to watchers. So if somebody else that they were looking at an item sent them an offer before you may not get the opportunity. So we do it all day long these days. And it does. I could sit there and write on a piece of paper the difference you would get. It's a decent amount different if you do it throughout the day. Whenever I finish the list of potential offers to watchers I can send, if I do it constantly, I get more and more and more. Because, before the 12th, we were getting 270 to 300 potentials to send out every single day of the week. It's now down to like 78. Obviously, that'll give you an idea on what happened to what eBay has done with this. But you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I've actually been surprised because I've been doing a bunch of live shows on my own channel and other channels where one of the topics that comes up a lot, it's actually been a more frequent question as of late, is do you send out offers to watchers, and how often do you send it? And my question is, my answer is, yes, I do send them out. And two, I send them out whenever I can, with the exception of everyone's got to judge when they want to do this or not. But for me, I will wait a certain period of time after my listing has first been put up, when it's brand new, because it's the most fresh. And there's a good chance in that first week for me that somebody is going to come and buy that price just at the price that I put it at, or we'll make some kind of deal. And if I would have set that with the promoted listing, I would lose money from that. Now, you could argue 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a whole cycle, 2 cycles. That's up to you. That's personal, however you want to do it. But I would at least give it a week, to sell before you start sending out offers to people on it. Same thing with promoted listings. I have the same approach with promoted listings. I won't for promoted listing, actually, I usually will go out with that longer. That would usually have to take a whole cycle for an item not to sell, like a whole 30 days before I set something.
Wait till it auto relists.
Right, to set to any kind of promotion. And even with that, I'm very surgical with how I do it. Now, the only exception to what I'm talking about is that if I had an item that for some reason it was just only getting like 10 views after like 7 days or something like that, then I would change my approach. I wouldn't wait for the whole cycle to go through. But when I said I use it surgically, I do not do something like, for example, I hear a lot of people, they say I put every single thing that I have on 1%, every single thing. Some of those items, especially your big price items, like for example, my Avengers sets, or my Alpha Flight set that I just said I sold for $330, there's literally no point in me putting that at any percent of promoted listing, because it's something that's so desirable that it's guaranteed going to sell. The only question is when and exactly how much. I'm not going to lose any money to eBay off that by setting it at 1% or a 0.5% or any percent. The only, and again, this is subjective, the only place where I do it is if it's an item that is $19.99 or less. So some kind of like costume jewelry piece or something where I'm in a flooded market, then I will set it to that and I'll adjust it accordingly. But that's it. Anything over that, I feel like if I have a $20 or more item, I should be able to sell at that price without promoting it, and that's what we do. So
for on my behalf, my prices are higher than most people. So if something, I didn't used to do that. I used to do exactly what you were saying. I would wait, wouldn't touch it. Nowadays, if I just listed it, my prices are all comparably high in the same areas because I do sell a lot at those prices. I literally do send them out right away. If somebody's watching it, I'll do the very least amount I can do as a markdown on it. I'm not.
You know who agrees with you?
Who's that?
Mrs. Primetime.
I've tried it out both ways. A bird in a hand is worth 2 in the bush. And if I can get a sale out of this guy may find the exact same thing that I got from somebody else, again, because I charge higher,
right,
for half the price. So when I got them in the door, when you've got a shopper that's not window shopping anymore and they're in your store, that's how I look at it. I look at it as somebody just glancing through the window at my store versus in the store. If I'm able to send an offer to the guy, he's in my store. Yeah, sure, I might be able to get an extra $2 out of the item, but for me, I'm 3x in the price in most any items anyway. So compared to most anybody else. So for me, who cares? Volume overrules it for me. So if I give a discount or the day it was listed, I'm fine with that. You know, and
And
if they counter though, here, let me hang on just 1 second.
sorry.
If they counter back, my take is it was just listed and I've already got other people interested. And usually they'll take it at that because they don't want to risk the fact that somebody might pay full price. That's usually what happens.
Right. If someone asked how to actually do this, for people who are brand new who are watching the channel, you just have to go to my eBay, go to selling, so you'll be in Seller Hub, and then on the left corner, you're gonna see it says listings eligible to send offers, and it's under the task tab, and then you can just send it off from there.
If you don't have a store, you won't have the hub.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only consideration I would say because
Um,
I'm terrible on that. I apologize to all those folks who I say, "Hey, check this
right,
feature out." I know
right.
like automation is only available, I
It
think, on a
it
couple levels.
it's also on the app. If you open your app, you'll see it there.
There you go. I don't use
The
the
o
app, so
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you use the app, you just open it up and just go to My eBay, selling, and there literally is a section that says send offers to buyers. The only thing with the app that's different that you gotta be careful of if you care about this kind of thing is, they have it set on the app as a default that, the person who gets the offer could send you a counter offer. So you literally have to turn that off before you send it if you don't want to deal with that and just be like, this is a take it or leave it deal. When you send it on the laptop or your desktop, it's not set like that. It's set for no counter.
I always include it. I always give them the option.
But see, and that's the thing that's what I was going to mention too. You could even see Don and I have some things that we do very much alike, and we have some other things where there's some subtle differences. We're just trying to give you different models, and so, like I said, some are similar, some are a little bit different, and you've got to absorb what you're hearing from us and what you're hearing on other channels and stuff, and then just decide what is the best approach that works for you, and your business because there's Don's business and my business is very different.
I
We
was just
sell
gonna
some
say.
similar things, but we have a totally different structure and setup.
Different clientele, different items in general. Even if we sell the same things, you're going to have different comic books than I
Yeah,
have. There's different demographics for a certain comic book, and all that kind of stuff comes into play. So, what works for me may not work for anybody else. You know, so
right,
you never know. I try whatever if something new comes out, says somebody says, "Hey, try this," I'm going to try it at least to see what happens.
right.
I mean, like the zoom ins, that's like the best thing we switched over was doing the zoom ins. I don't think anything else has given me a routine boost like centering in on something.
You might want to mention that as a tip because I use that as well. It's somewhere that's an area we 100% agree on. For people who are who are new, not or don't know about that.
Zoom ins would be like for a postcard. We scan our postcard, so it goes in a duplex. It does front and back. I upload 2 copies of the front image, so I still only have to take one slide of my scanner, but I upload 2. And one, I'll zoom in on one specific aspect, the best important thing. I'll get rid of all the junk. There'll be no white. It will fill the entire block on eBay. And if you do gallery view, it'll be a big chunk of the screen when you do that. So as long as you're doing good DPI, good quality images you're scanning, it calls attention to it. Like if I do it on some items, there might be 12, 15, 20 other people selling the exact same item as me. I mean, exactly. But none of them use the zoom in. So whose do you think stands out? Mine does because it's bigger than everybody else. And I'm going to keyword it to hopefully match what's in the zoom in. So like if it's showing a railroad accident at a depot or something, I'm going to show enough instead of like a long shot. When you show like postcards in general, too many people just take a photo of it. And I'm sitting here scanning it and then blowing that scan up to show just the best part of it. It draws them in. I'm telling you that and you can do that with lunch boxes, toys, models, just everything you can think of. The very first image should you want them to knock their socks off.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to go, wow, I want that item, or I'm at least going to click on your store. And in that image, if you do a zoom in, and I don't care what it is, you'll do better. If your image, your postcard is like here, and there's 50% of your image is white around it for your main image, nobody can see your image. All I can see is there's a blotch of paper in the middle of this big white square with bad lighting, and that's not going to get you a sale.
That's right.
If you want to talk about maybe going to image quality too, then
Yeah, but I just piggyback on what you're saying. I
go ahead.
totally
I'm sorry.
agree. That's why, for example, you'll see for ties, that's a great example, is that if you think about a tie, right? It's just this long strand of fabric. And if you were to literally try to photograph that and put it in an eBay window, you're going to have a lot of white around it because it can't possibly fill up the space. So people will include that long picture of the tie later on down the road in the set of images, but for that first image, they'll usually roll it up and get a close up of that fabric. We have a bunch of ties in our store, and that's an approach that we use. Or you could do like a roll up or something like that. Or some people will literally just get a zoom up of the pattern and just put a block of that in there, and people will know, and they'll see, oh wow, that really stands out. Because here's another thing, you have to think, how are people seeing your image? Because more people are shopping by phone. How are they seeing it? If they're looking at stuff and scrolling, and you want that to pop out against your competition.
The photo, like we were talking about, the key aspects that hold your listing together: the photo, the title, and the price. When we switched over to zoom ins and the scanner, our sales went up like an immense amount. The minute we stopped doing the bad images and using the camera for postcards, anything, photos, posters, the same thing, t-shirts, the exact same thing. I see folks doing a t-shirt from a long shot and they're just showing the whole t-shirt in there, but what's selling it and what's in their keywords is, say, I don't know, Marty Evans or something's on the front of the shirt. The keyword is Marty Evans, and you can't see who they're talking about in the image because it's a long shot. I always showed when we did photos on shirts, the design was the main thing. And not only the design, I made sure there was no wrinkles, so it looked like it was like a company image of that, trying to market it on their main platform or something. That was the point. You can't just show a long shot. Just like baseball caps, when everybody shows them from a distance or at a weird angle, they want to see the logo on the front. So we always did and we never did them at an angle. It was always dead straight on to whatever we were taking, like that. Same with like shirts, dead straight down, so it's not at an angle. So that you could almost scan some of them if you have a large format scanner. You could scan your shirt design at least, so that the main image itself is just phenomenal compared to everybody else.
Also related to that, remember, if you have any kind of image, let's say it's a poster or some type of paper collectible where there's a lot of rich detailed imagery on it, that first picture might very well be the whole thing, like the whole poster, but then in your subsequent photos, that's where you would do your cropping to get really zoned in onto those details. Like, for example, this is my little Marvel composition notebook that I write notes for when I'm doing show prep and stuff. But if I was trying to sell this, you could see, right? I'm trying to sell this. Someone could tell, like, wow, there's a bunch of comic book stuff on there. But in subsequent images, I would want, because it's so small, I would want to take a photo of like this section, the middle section here, and then bring a close up. So now in the next photos, you could see something like that, and it's much more powerful. So take a couple minutes to take some extra photos, really can make the difference for sales, because increased photos usually mean more sales.
Yeah, that's in most items. Yeah, if you're doing like a piece of paper, there isn't much more sense in more than two. Your third one will be a duplicate of the first one. With items, the more photo, like if I'm doing a lot of something and it's like 100 items in a lot and I only have 4 photos or 5 photos, the person who has 12 photos for that lot will sell it way before the person who only did 5. And there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that's the truth.
Right.
But with paper and stuff, if I'm scanning it, I've talked with people who have went and uploaded a couple versions of the back of the card and cropped it just so it looked like different photos, just to increase the amount.
No, right.
And I don't see much difference.
No, I agree. I would say only do it if it's something that's going to truly enhance your listing. Don't just do it to do it. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's plenty of times, Don, where I'll just do a front and back because that's all that's needed.
Records.
Yeah.
If it's just like a disc. Now, like in Dom's example with his notebook, if I've got a magazine, for an example, and there's Steinbeck or something article in there, I'm going to show a picture of that article's first page. That's the draw for the magazine or whatever. If there's a pinup in the center of it, I'm going to show that pinup without a doubt. If it's important enough to put in the title of your listing, it's important enough to take a picture of it. That
is such a good point, and a lot of people miss that. With a comic book example, if there's something important that happened in a comic, like a first appearance of a character, I literally flip to that page, take a picture of that, and include that in the listing. Or
an origin.
An origin,
yep,
a death, whatever. Another example, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to show this in my next non-live video that comes out, is if you get certain sports magazines that were handed out, the programs that were handed out at stadiums, like it'll say like Boston Celtics on it, we'll talk about the the Celtics and stuff, and you look at it. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is that if you open that program to the middle, it actually has an insert in there, which it's stapled in, but it actually shows the stadium where that, or the facility, the arena where that game was played, and who was playing each other, what the roster was, and sometimes you will have penmanship in there from a person who actually wrote out the scorecard. So I actually used that recently. I had a Boston Celtics magazine that I got. The front cover was ripped off. It was from the 1980s. But the way I sold it was by showing the middle section with that detailed scorecard in it. And fortunately for me, this is actually one of the few times I liked that a magazine had writing in it. The person had written down, and I went and checked. Went back, checked the game, is all accurate. The Celtics had won the game, so that's going to help for a Celtics fan. They put the final score in there. Larry Bird had 40 points, and like Kevin McHale had 26 points. Those are like, they're two like all-star players, and that was a selling point. I made sure I put that in the listing, the picture of it, and I emphasized that. And I actually used that during my negotiation and helped make the sale pretty quick. So that's a great example.
I was going to say that's a good example. And why would something like that sell? Because the person who had that actually probably wrote it down while he was watching the game.
That's right.
So and they're limited. So even if it doesn't have the cover, I've sold stuff without the cover because they were limited production. They were like only available at an event. We're talking events here. And somebody else had a cover that was okay. If the item's even valuable, now we're talking a little off topic here, but if the item's valuable, and in mint condition and it's a high price stuff, like a comic book without a cover, if I ran into Superboy 1, which I actually got without a cover the other day, it's still worth some good money.
That's right.
It doesn't cover or not, it's a first issue.
That's right. Some people will get a cover, they'll find one, and that's loose somewhere. Some people sell covers, and a newer trend is some people are making their own custom covers.
I've seen that.
So that's
I'm not a big fan on that, but I get it.
So but actually, there's a question here which dovetails what you wanted to talk about, Don, which is image presentation, photo quality, that type of thing.
What was the question?
Well, it was just a question that said, well, actually, it was more of a statement that said to see so many bad photos on eBay. So maybe because you were talking about image quality.
I can sell. People say, well, your prices are high and this or that. I don't hear that from customers because I'm a package person. I try to give the best customer service. I try to have a better picture than the other guy. I've got a 30-day free return. My feedback's 100%. You're a package deal. And a lot of people miss that whole aspect of it. They don't worry about, rushing to get a package out. They don't worry about doing the extra step. They're shipping. I know it doesn't matter for everybody, but I've seen packages that we personally purchased and the packaging looked terrible. And maybe the inside was wrapped well, but it just looked awful. In appearance, every step of the way. If you want people that are going to pay higher money, they're going to want something impeccably packed. They're going to want to make sure you've got the best feedback. A Beatles record that's worth $4,000 or something. This is a good example. I don't want to see a $4,000 record if I'm purchasing something show up in a nasty looking box with like food stuck to the outside of it. And I've seen stuff. People send me craziest shipping of the day pictures and stuff. I get those as well.
People throwing recyclables instead of bubble wrap, like
I do bags. I do grocery store bags
but not I'm talking like literally people have used like crumpled up cans, milk containers. It's just really bad luck.
Yeah, and I've shown some pictures myself of bad shipping where they just stuck a label on a vintage collectible box and things like that too. That's a good way to lose sales going forward. My take is you like getting somebody in the door, getting that customer there. You want to wow them at every step of the way to get more sales out of them. I've got my repeat customer ratio is huge. I mean, majorly huge. And you can even look at even the customers who leave feedback. They might have bought 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. I've had people buy 120 plus items from me in one sitting. And I do that with like payment. Here's another thing that drives me nuts, that everybody has to have the money right away. I let people pay at the end of the month for people who've been dealing with me. I have a 7-day payment window. I never jump the gun because I almost never, I mean, all of last year, we probably opened up a couple unpaid item claims, and they ended up getting paid for. It's been so long since I can even say. So if you're jumping the gun on, I want my money now, and eBay should force them to pay immediately, I know in some categories that should be the case, but in collectibles and stuff, the demographics, the people who buy aren't always in the biggest hurry. They may be retired or something. Some of the stuff we sell, I'm not worried. What's the difference between an item I sold and then paying immediately, or me waiting 7 days? If they didn't buy it, no one else may have. So why would I, at the third day, say I'm going to open up an unpaid item case and I'm going to go after him? I want my money, and that's another way to kill sales. Just like
It might be more of an issue though if you took a good offer, like if you took an offer and you gave the person a really good deal. It's possible within that 7 days, if you had it up, someone else might have come by and purchased it for your full price.
that is possible. That is possible. But as a general rule, that's not the case usually. Usually, for me at least, if somebody buys and they don't pay immediately, it's either somebody I know, or maybe they're going to come and search for some more items the next day. We've got, in some categories, like 10,000 items in the same category, and it happens. Well, not so much since the 12th, but every day of the week, we were selling at least a couple items to the same person, at least once or twice every single day of the week. So
yeah, if you could combine shipping, especially if you could combine shipping,
yeah, we always do. And even if they pay, everybody who buys from me, I refund them without even being asked the difference in the shipping cost every single time. So every morning, for like months on end, I sit here and I refund the difference between the shipping costs without being asked, and that goes a long way to show that you're not out there trying to rip them off.
But I keep seeing comments in the chat about the poor image quality and the just taking pictures of things on dirty surfaces and
white background, nice,
right.
clear, the clearest. Take them outside if you have to. Buy yourself. I don't have a piece here, but buy yourself. It's solid PVC sheets you can get at Menards, Home Depot. You can get them in like 4x8, 4 feet by 8. Cut them up however you want. Make yourself a little box that you can slide outside if you need to. 2 walls and a floor, or just get a sheet and shoot straight down. Whatever you need to do. But if you don't have the quality lights, take them outside. Open up a window door or something. The photos, man. I probably sell 20 or 30% of our stuff higher than everybody else, just for the sheer fact that their photos, pardon me, but suck compared to ours. And I've got photos that, pardon me, suck again too if I go back far enough, but we've actually been whittling them out. So if you go back to the ones I first listed 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, they're all new photos. We went back and scanned and have been scanning 100 or so every single week since day one, since we got the scanner. So if you've got bad photos and you've got a new way to do it, or you've got a better camera, go back and start taking more photos.
Right. I run across, yeah, I run across this a lot when I do comic books, because, and if you don't do comic books, you could just apply it to any other paper item, for example, that you might sell, like magazines, or regular books. But I'll see, for example, someone will have the same exact book that I have. They'll say it's in the same condition, but they put up 3 blurry photos that chopped off a section of the comic book. And I know, as someone who also buys, that if I'm looking, you have to also think how a buyer thinks, how your prospective buyer might think. When I'm pricing something, I'll say, well, they might say they have it at the same quality as mine, same exact item. They may even have similar feedback, but if their photos are not good, I know there's going to be at least a percentage, a significant percentage, maybe not everyone, but a significant percentage of buyers that are going to bypass that and go to the next one if they sorted, let's say, from lowest to highest. And I'm just going to keep going up the ladder, position myself to where I feel comfortable against whoever the competition is, with listing quality, feedback quality. That is important. You have to look at that, because there are, not all, again, but there are certain buyers that are going to look at that. And I look at it, I say, listen, and here's the other thing, Don, which is a tip to making sales. Oh my goodness. Please, 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 please think carefully before you respond to buyers on eBay, especially if they got you mad about something that they said. I brought this example up the other night, Don, and let me get this real quick. I'll show you. I was doing some research for a comic book that I was going to list, and I was looking at my competition. I saw they had 6 negatives, And I said, let me see what the 6 negatives are about. And it turns out that it said, don't buy from this particular seller because this seller just sent my comic book just like this, just sent it like this in a bag, but no board. So you see here we have a backing board. This is standard. You always want to use this when you're storing or shipping out your comic book because it prevents it from bending. So these people were complaining that they were getting bent, damaged comic books, and it was just thrown in a mailer, and that was it. So the seller responds, what the hell is it with these spoiled buyers who expect to get top-notch treatment for lower priced items? Read the listing. I'm almost saying this word for word. Read the listing where it says if you want a backing board, you have to pay extra for it, and you didn't pay. That is the dumbest way to respond to a buyer ever.
That's not good
And
at
there
all.
was like 5 of them like that. So that person is losing so many sales by responding that way, and then might be wondering, why don't I have any sales this week? Or as many as I used to, because of how the response was made to the buyer. So it just
People do look at collectors especially are going to look at that. They want to know that you know how to handle those types of collectibles specifically. With comic books, I don't actually send anything out with a board, nor does it state that in the listing. We've actually had feedback removed because somebody left me a neutral feedback because I didn't send them a new board and a bag. But I do protect them in these huge thick packages. I've never had a comic book.
I know you. Yeah.
I do I do have, acid freeze and the top loader for comic books for expensive golden age and stuff like that. So it depends on the item, I should say.
But right. But that's right. So if you were not to use a board and instead were to put it in the bag, but protect it, like I know you put multiple layers of cardboard
Ours
around
goes
it.
in a piece of cardboard. There's
Right.
no bag at all with the comic book. It's 3 layers of cardboard, and I'm talking thick
So
cardboard.
So you compensated for it in a different way.
Even if it's a $5 comic, I send them out that way.
But these people are saying that they were getting a comic book just sent in a bag that was thrown in a poly mailer with no cardboard protection in any form around
I
it.
wouldn't buy from that person.
Right. That's my point. That's just, and and the seller's basically admitting it and saying if you want it that way, you got to read the listing. There's all these fine details in, which is another thing that could kill you if you put like 10,000 details in there. And you should have seen the one spot where it said if you wanted the board, you had to pay an extra 15 cents or something. Doesn't make any sense.
Way down where no one probably would have seen it.
Right.
Let me give you just one quick example. I collect buttons, so I do buy them off eBay. Somebody had a terrible picture. I had no competition bidding. I got a Virginia Military Institute button, which is a Confederate button. I got that and like 3 other Robinson back. I know most people probably didn't know what this is, but for $65, I got almost $700 worth of buttons off of eBay. And the one button alone, the Confederate one, I could sell pretty much immediately for $375. All because the photos were terrible. I spent some time trying to figure out if it's legit, and no one looked at them because the main image just was terrible and their keywords were awful. They didn't even mention the most important aspect of what the buttons were in there. So a keyword can lose this. The person I bought these from lost $650. That's how much they lost in cash that I bought, and I could turn around and sell those for that much or more immediately. Because their photo they had 3 photos, mind you. They were all terrible photos and no description, no keywords that faithfully would have advertised what they were selling. They didn't do their homework. They made me, well, I'm keeping them. But the point is, if I wanted to, I could have made $650 after fees off of somebody who didn't do their due diligence to take good photos and to spend their time to make sure that they were knowing what they had to sell. If you don't know what you have to sell and you're not willing to research it and you just give up and I'll just put it up for this, you're screwing yourself over. That's my take. And I'll probably show that in Patreon because I get people asking that. But I do search on eBay for collectibles that I personally collect. I don't buy to resell because most of the time it's other sellers like you and I that are selling our junk in big lots trying to get people to buy it. So,
question came in which is kind of related to this, Don. You might want to touch on. With tips. Chris from Crispy's Toys and Treasures wanted to know what your opinion is, or our opinion is, on putting in stock photos, and especially for comic books. You want to
I
address
never
that?
do stock photos. I only take a picture of the item. So if there's something different between the stock photo and your photo, in my opinion, if it's a collectible, you should never do a stock photo. In my opinion, you should only portray the item you were sending them. If for some reason there's something wrong with the stock photo, here's an example. On Amazon, I sold some knitting stuff on there, and it was all NOS stock. In the time Amazon changed, I used the stock photo. Amazon changed the stock photo to a new design of the package. So when the buyer got the item, and it happened to two different buyers, they were mad because it wasn't what the photo stated. So if there's something different or condition issue or whatever the case may be, I don't do that on eBay.
Right.
That's just my take. I would never personally ever recommend using a stock photo for a collectible. If
Uh,
it's
right. I agree. I don't use stock photos. And if you're a collector, as you know, like Don and I, we sell, but we also collect stuff. We have a
too much
background in
stuff
that.
I do,
So
but
we
yeah.
know what it's like when we're searching for stuff. Personally, for me, this is just me, but I know there's a lot of other people the same way. If I see a stock photo, I'm not buying it.
Same thing.
I'm no way,
Hate it.
because I want to see what I'm actually buying. So, and it's also in some ways, some people look at it as a bad sign. They look at it as a way someone's trying to cut corners. So it's my experiences. And if I see, like, when I'm listing that a competitor has the same item as I do, let's say this comic book, and they've got it, they say it's near mint, mine's near mint. We both have 100% feedback. They use the stock photo. I'm pricing mine higher, because I know that there's going to be someone like Don and I who'll say they'll just skip past the stock photo one.
Just like if I see something promoted on eBay, I don't ever click on a promoted listing these days at all. Because to me, it's annoying. It's nuisance because half the time, even the promoted listings aren't relevant to what I'm looking for. So I don't do a lot of stuff. I skim past promoted. I skim past anybody using a stock photo, especially in a vintage category. That drives me nuts if I'm collecting and somebody's posting a stock photo, or they'll show a photo from the book, the guidebook, as the main image for whatever item it is, and that drives me nuts. A collector of a comic book, if it's worth anything, wants to see the comic book. They don't care. They know what the comic book looks like, probably.
Yeah.
At least that's my take on it.
Now, Baldy Pal Picking want to know, what if it's packed new in the box? Still no stock photo, or are you just
I
talking
don't
about
open boxes to take a photo. If it's sealed in a box, I take a photo of the box. And then
Right.
I'll do a
Right. That's
Zoom
what
in.
he's asking, though. Would you take the photo of the box, or
Yes,
would
I
you?
take a photo of the box.
I do this. I do the same thing, because there could be something about that. But there, my
Corner
luck,
dinged
there'll
or
be a
anything.
ding on the box, and someone will be mad. I didn't know that you didn't say there was a ding on the box. I want to return it. It's just like, really?
And even if you've got the complete thing shown later on, your main image, what drew them in it, is what they're going to remember. When they go back and they're not happy with it, they're going to look right at that main image again.
Yeah.
And I've seen people leave comments, misleading. They had the real thing buried into the listing. Your first image should be of the item. The end of story. That's the end of story. Whenever I see people using photos, I personally just think drop shipper right off the bat.
Yeah, well, Chris said, he said, hey, I see some really big sellers. They have tons of listings and they seem to make a lot of sales, and they do nothing but stock photos. But listen, you got to make a decision. Do you want to be McDonald's? Do you want to be Burger King? Or do you want to have some more quality to your meal selections?
Tavern on the Green. You want to be
got to
Tavern on the Green.
you got to decide what you want to do.
That's a good point too with that. And I've seen the same. I probably have seen these same accounts. So is probably Dom, of some of these sellers that do that. They might have 10 of the same comic book in, and all they do is change the grade in the listing, is what I usually see. I personally, again, I don't like that. I mean, if the store now has 100% positive feedback and they're totally dead straight on everything they do, and maybe they don't have any issues, but
Right. Right. And by the way, just so people know, this is not unique to reselling in many ways. Some of the things we're talking about, like, I could take from my healthcare role, for example, my neuropsychology profession. There are neuropsychologists, for example, or people who say that they do what I do, who will say, "Hey, I evaluated, 14 people in a day," something like that. It's like, well, hold on. And, someone else might say, "Well, I evaluated 3." Well, the person who evaluated 14, there might not be as much quality that went into that assessment and that evaluation than the person who took more time to do 3. I mean, it's not always that way, but I'm just saying this is not unique to reselling. This happens in other places where there's people who create this kind of mass production, type of
That's where you
approach.
always mess up.
Right. Right.
That's
Yeah.
like that'll be your bottleneck. Now, I was looking at some accounts and I was talking to a couple of patrons yesterday. If you're looking at some accounts and you're looking at their feedback and they're getting 100,000 feedbacks a month, and there's quite a few out there like that, you're going to run into some that have like 1,000 negative feedbacks in like a month time or on their accounts and stuff. And it's always the same basic thing. Again, a lot of them are using stock photos. A lot of them, they're so big for their, they don't know what they're doing. They're shipping out stuff late. There was one account and they sold all kinds of stuff. It was a huge account. They had almost 100,000 listings. They were sending out so much stuff. They couldn't pack them. I don't know whether they're short on staff, and they kept on doing this process. So their feedback was 96.9. We watched the account as it dropped from 99.4 down to 96 range. So, and this happened within like a 2-month time frame. It wasn't very long that they dropped down that drastically. They were shipping out, but they were just throwing them in bags, shipping the wrong items. They were just so scatterbrained. If you don't have every step of the way done and you're just trying to shoot for the volume, that's what's going to happen. You could collapse. Like Dom was talking about, if eBay really is holding people back from volume wise, they're not holding back some of these big ones, which probably needed to be held back is a point on that. But it's one of those weird situations that if you don't have your stuff and your ducks in a row and you don't have a way to ship these out properly, don't do it. Like FedEx taking boxes and not being able to ship them. If I can't produce the end result, I'm not going to do it.
That's right.
Just doesn't make sense. Let me shoot out, let's see here, long tail items. And you touched on this a minute ago too, on pricing and stuff. If I listed something 4 years ago, Dom, is the price I listed it at 4 years ago still good?
Could be.
Could be,
Could
but
be. There could be it could be something else that you need to change about your listing. Your title could be messed up. You could have.
yeah, but as prices change, I guess is the point. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you
if I
got
listed a comic book 5 years ago, and with what's going
Oh,
on now,
something like that. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
it's probably different. Yeah.
prices could be worth more. And
Right.
or like, let's say I listed a rare Pepsi sign, a tin Pepsi wall sign or something, and I listed it 4 years ago and it hadn't sold. A whole box of them, cases of them, could have showed up at a warehouse purchase, and now there's so many on the market, the price is worth half of that.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not selling. Sometimes
Right.
your older listings, you need to go revisit them, do a
Yep.
new fresh comp search to see what the prices are.
That's right.
We do that a lot. Prices change and fluctuate over 5, 6.
Yeah.
If you've been on a long time like us, you've got to do that. You cannot, just like you need to update your photos, you need to update your prices. The keywords could have even changed. Something that wasn't hot then may be hot now, and you don't have that one keyword in there to signify that listing has that in there.
Right. Or, if you have some that's sitting around for a long time, you don't feel like waiting, you think it's been too long, keep that, that's why you got to look at your listings, keep that item in the back of your mind. If you're outsourcing, you see something similar to that item, pick it up and then say, you know what, I could combine it with that other item that I have, and now I've just added value, and now I'll get rid of it. I do that all the time.
If we don't sell stuff too, similar to that, if I've got some things I was borderline when I listed them, whether I thought they would be good for individual listings or a group, if they haven't sold in a while, I'll group them together. I'll keep one of the listings up. All I got to do is get the photos and upload them to that one listing. And then I'll just kill the other ones and sell it as a lot. Many times that'll give you traction, and you're not necessarily losing any money, so to speak. Like with Dom said, you can still potentially get the same amount of money, but a lot may be more attractive in certain categories versus selling them individually. Let me just thank Daryl here. Daryl, thank you very kindly. You honestly don't have to do that. You support me. You always been a great guy, Daryl, as I said, but thank you very kindly for that $10 super chat, Daryl. Since I'm here too, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please smash that like button there. We've got 337 people in house right now, and I've got 115 likes. So we're spewing out the truth, whatever you want to take it. This is from experience for me and Dom doing this for a very long time. Let's put it that way. Decades. I've been doing this for decades, 20, 26, 27 years. So, this is the conclusions we've come to with that. So no more just leave package on the post office counter. Yeah. Somebody is talking about tracking and stuff. we still use the tracking sheet. And it always scans with my post office person who picks up here. I do not go to the post office. I've had a lot of people say you need to go to the post office, make sure they scan them. I have not had a single issue with eBay's bulk scan sheet, master scan sheet at all in like a year. I haven't been dinged by eBay at all. And if you say, let's say you print the label today, if you don't get it into the mail today, it's not going to ding you as long as it's been, scanned as being accepted by the post office within a certain reasonable length of time. So you got to print it a time. That can hurt your sales as well if you ship late. If you state that you are going to ship that package within a day time frame, we do 24 hours, you ship it within that time frame. Once people start to leave feedback again, this guy doesn't ship, he's a slow shipper, he's a terrible packer, 30%, 40% of people potentially buying from you may be wanting to see your feedback. And when they see that and they've got somebody else who has the exact same item as you, just like Don was talking about just a few minutes ago, who I'm going to buy from the guy who has good feedback and everybody on his feedback says he ships right away, great packing. I'm going to buy from him. I value, if I'm going to waste my money to buy something that I want, I'm going to buy it from the best vendor, even if it means I pay a little more, because I know they know how to handle it. I mean, how many, you've ordered stuff online. How many times do you get a bad package or they just totally messed it up by bending it or shipping it in some crappy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it happens.
It does happen.
Now, Don, this is up to you. You have a request here from Daryl, Carolina Picks, who sent you the super chat, requesting a sound effect.
I don't have any sound effects, and I'm not going to create one. You're welcome to do one there, Dom.
No, I don't do those on other people's channels unless they gave me permission for it. So that's why. And you might be careful how you answer that, Don, because then you might just start getting just hit with super chats and people requesting sound effects. So yeah, that's your call.
You're welcome to if you want. Well, you can give it to Daryl if Daryl wants it.
Oh, you don't know what you might be starting.
Let's limit it down to super chat only then. How about that?
All right. We'll do. For those of you who don't know, I do this over on my channel for people, and they seem to get a kick out of it. So, Don, do you want to choose the sound effect?
It's your call, buddy.
My call.
You can do what you want.
All right. Well, thank you. You want to put that on the screen? You want to put Carolina Picks on the screen so we give them a little.
I'm not. I can't. You'll have to do that. I can't.
That's all right.
My vision is not the greatest.
Thank you on behalf of Don, the auction professor. We would like to thank you for the $10 super chat. The one and only Carolina Picks. There you go, Don.
Well, there you are, Daryl. Special request.
See what you started, Daryl.
Special request for Daryl there. Let's see here. I had keywords. Keywords again. Somebody is just mentioning, how do you figure out keywords? You can go trending if it's something new. If you've got NOS stock and it's something that sells fairly regularly, I use trending to see what's the best bet. You have to narrow it down. It may take you a little while to figure out how to use stuff like that. There's reports even on eBay you can kind of use too. You can look at trending in Terapeak and look at what's selling the highest and use their keywords. I copy off my competitors all the time. And Dom, why don't you talk about that? Because you brought the competitor thing up too. The zoom-ins is from my competitor. I didn't come up with that. Somebody else did. And just like Dom was saying with competitors, I look at my competitors.
I look at what the highest priced items were that sold. Usually not necessarily always just the top one. I'll look at like the top 3 and I'll see what kind of things they have in common. I'll see if there's anything interesting in terms of a keyword that they put in there that I might not have thought of. But then at the same time, I often have instances where I find that they did not put a keyword in there that they might not have known about the particular item. Like I just sold a comic book called Adventures in Leather, which was a promotional comic book that was put out by a shoe company, and no one who was selling it knew that a famous comic book artist named Neil Adams is the one who did the art.
Neil
in that.
Adams
Doesn't say it in there.
Batman.
You'd have to know that just from doing some research and being familiar with the artist. So I put that in there, but they didn't have that. So don't always assume that they always have the right thing. And sometimes even the people who maybe sold some for a high price, they leave a lot of space. They put repetitive terms in. I see people putting the same exact keyword in twice, maybe by accident. But I really tried, Don, to cram it with as many keywords as possible. And I've heard you talk about this too, which we totally agree. Stop worrying about being grammatically correct and
It
all this
doesn't
kind of
have to be
stuff
a
in the
sentence.
title, not in the title.
Just words. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Words are all you need in a title. It doesn't.
yeah,
Nothing else means anything. A word is all you need.
yeah,
Cram as many keywords as you can get in there. I don't care if it makes sense or not. What you're relying on is your photo to attract them if they're scanning through. Your most important words in your title need to be to the farthest left as you can get them every
yeah.
time,
That's true.
because from a phone it's going to chop off and they'll have to hit buttons.
That's
You
true.
want to limit it to the least amount of work a buyer's going to have to do to find your items. The best keywords to the left, the best image. It's
Yeah,
just so important.
yeah. And there's a comment in the chat that is not correct, saying that it's against the rules to crop items. That is not correct. You can crop items all you want as long as there are photos that do show the full item. But
That's
your first
exactly right. I
item
hear
could
you.
definitely be a cropped photo.
100%, 100%. You can do a crop photo for your first one as long as every single inch of your item is shown in the listings.
Yeah.
Because you have to show at some point a zoom in. Let's say I'm doing a piece of jewelry, which I know you and your wife both sell on there too. I'm going to have to do a zoom in to show you what the mark is. You zoom in. eBay they have zoom in built into the system. They have that as an option for you to zoom to crop anything you want. What you can't do and don't want to do, especially if you cross list your items, you want 85% of your image, your main image, to be of just the item. If you're going to want to expand your business, you've got to think ahead a year or two down the road too, while you're doing this, while you're trying to get these sales. If you want to cross list your items, a large number, in fact, eBay has been pushing this direction too. They follow Amazon's picture rules. 85% of the image has to be of the item. And that's a marketing thing. Amazon has spent, who knows, millions of dollars to figure out what's the best ratio, what's the best way to get the photo that's going to cause the most attention to your item. I really despise the listings where they have got a photo of a whole bunch of stuff and it's a distant shot of like 20 comic books that you can't see even one of the comic books in your main image, or magazines or whatever it is. You need to have a zoom in. You need to have something that's going to draw their attention into the listing. Yeah. I don't want window shoppers. I want people lounging around in my store and looking inside the store. Looking from the window doesn't mean anything. That's why, in general, views don't really mean that much to me at all, because I can view anything. If I'm not going to watch it or go another step, it's still window shoppers.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one other thing I should mention is that and I've shown this on some of my What Sold videos, is that if you're doing, let's say, a big lot of comic books, and I could let's say I have like 50 comic books, and I could lay them all out on like the floor, like on a big table or something like that, and I could get an overhead shot of that, and all of those comics are going to completely fill up the square, and I could show the whole comic, or the vast majority of the comic. I'll put that in as the main picture, and then the subsequent photos are going to be sections that show the whole comic, like let's say 10 more photos, that, as let's say it was 50, the first one would be that big overview broad one, and then the next one would be, let's say, 4 or 5 in each picture where you're seeing the entire comic. So that approach, what I'm doing is I'm trying to wow someone with seeing a mass amount of volume in that first photo and get them to come in and say, wow, that's a lot of stuff. But you have to, I really try to do that in a really neat way, so it looks nice and streamlined and organized. The only exception to that would be if I was doing like a junk lot, Don, like a crafter's lot, where I'm just kind of just tossing a whole bunch of like coverless and damaged comic books on a table. That's the only exception to that. But in general, outside of that, it'd be different.
In that, I do everything just like that, but for the first image, I stack like the best comic book in the lot, and then I put a bunch of them around it, so there isn't a spot showing where there isn't a piece of comic book, so that it's only showing, you can show the sides of the comics and stuff. That's what I do. I still want that, whatever is the biggest draw for that comic book or whatever that lot is. Doesn't, if you're selling toys, the same thing. The most valuable, just like a junk drawer lot. The
Right.
best stuff is going to be zoomed in for me anyway.
Right. No,
Everybody has a different way to
yeah,
do it. There's
right. But no, it's funny because we are similar with that. So like when I do that, like for my Mad magazines, Don, when I do those, let's say I'm selling 50 Mad magazines or something, right? I have them stacked in rows and stuff. They're laying flat, they're in rows and they're overlapping. But I specifically pick out the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 ones for that bottom row, the ones that are going to be the front facing ones, where you're going to see the whole thing. Though every single one of those is something iconic, the most dramatic thing, the one that people are going to go and they're going to say, "Oh my God, that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you're saying." I totally agree.
Yeah, and with that too, those 5 or 6 you're showing are probably where all the money's at. Usually, if you're going for comics, there's like some of them are worth a bunch, and you're throwing like if you got a whole run of comic books, like 100 issues, consecutive issues or something, chances are they're either buying them to fill their collection, or there's a couple good issues in there. Those are the ones you show, and those are the ones that they're buying it for. If I'm putting a lot together, usually there's only a couple really good ones, and the rest are fodder, just me getting some money back out of them. And that's how I look at it too. Again, if it's important enough to put in the title, that's going to be my main part, my main image. I try to link and I do this because of YouTube for the last year. So I try to link the keywords in the title with what's shown in the image. It for some reason, I personally feel that may have a better play. Maybe it doesn't, but that's what I personally feel and what I personally see. Again, I don't
Well,
have any way to prove that, but
right.
yeah,
I agree. And there was a question on if comics are in a different language, are they still worth something? They definitely can be. It totally depends.
they're like we've had them French. I've sold some Dutch Mad magazines, even talking about Mad magazines. I got like 3 times for the Dutch ones than I did for the US ones of the exact same year time frame. So
Yeah.
they're harder to get over here. They may not be. Somebody sent me a nasty thing through eBay and said, over here in this country, those buttons are only worth this, or this item is only worth that. Well, I'm not in their country.
Right.
So, and those over here, they're not, because I know they don't want to spend $15 for me to mail it to them first class international. It's the only way I send it. So here, though, I can afford to charge, that extra $15 on it here in this country and still sell it. I don't care what they cost over there. They're in my country. They're buying it from. Why you come in here if you can get them from your own country for a said price? Again, all this has play, like with Don with the magazine or with the comic books. How you set it up does matter. It does matter to increase your sales. It all comes down to the photo quality or what your ploy is. Dom has a different ploy. I got a different ploy. 100 different people could do the same lot 100 different ways, and all
Yeah.
could still potentially work. But
You gotta have a strategy. You gotta have a plan, and try to. Another thing, Don, which is related to this, is I think that whatever your plan is, whatever your approach is, you should try to keep that consistent throughout your stores, so people have a feeling of consistency as they're going through and seeing it.
That's another good point too. If you have a ton of listings and you've got them like a bunch in the same category and stuff, having the same setup, they know it's your listing as opposed to somebody else. So if they like what you're selling, they can instantly see the same structure on the titles, the same structure on the photos, pricing structure, and the whole works. They're going to search out your items on there. And if you've got enough to like have a dominance in a category, it works very well. It works very well for us because those are some of the items I always get sales on, because again, dominance and the returns and it all works to play to get you more sales. If you got like one item in a collectible category, you're not going to have a big draw for that one item unless it's really sought after. But I can sell cheaper stuff that other people can't because they can buy so many different things from us in the same category that other people can't even offer. They'll buy a bunch from me and not buy that 1 or 2 other items they thought about buying from somebody else, because I've got more of it and they can get combined shipping, or my feedback's better photos, whatever the case may be. All of that plays together to build you up your sales. You
Right.
can't just instantly. Some of this is going to take you time to build up your reputation, your skill set, your uniformity on your listings, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, Don, I did see a bunch of questions come in tonight. I don't know if you want to touch on this because it is about tips to increase sales. And one of the hottest types of items that are selling on eBay are trading cards. And there's been a lot of questions on, should you get into Pokemon cards? Should you get into Magic the Gathering, sports cards? What's your take on that with cards?
I'm not a sports card person. I pass them up even if it's a good deal because I just don't want to mess with them. Now, Magic the Gathering, I've been selling for 15 years or something, a long time. Magic the Gathering, I snag up every time. And
What about Pokemon?
I was going to step off screen, but it'd take me a minute to get them. I just picked up like 4,000 Pokemon cards.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll still buy them. Again, anything that's cheap. I don't, though, even if sports cards are cheap, I don't usually buy them. I don't care about them at all. I don't know the players. I don't know stat. I don't know any of that stuff. And I don't claim to. I don't want to mess with it. But Magic's always been collectible. I think Magic, even if there's a crash going on in sports market or the card market in general or wherever it is, Magic is played. So the people that are into Magic, 9 out of 10 people that are buying Magic cards from us anyway, are people that are playing it, even if they're spending a lot of money, and they're more so of a player / collector versus just a collector investor. So I still see the value there. Pokemon's still fairly hot. The next big Pokemon game that comes out, they'll be right back up. I know they've lost a little bit of their market pricing, but I see them still being there viable, just like a Mario or something like that. Mario's still going strong, and I see Pokemon in that same line of character lineage where it's going to keep going. They'll just put something new out in another year or so. So it's kind of speculation, but not.
Yeah. I I always talk about it, trying to break into new niches or niches. And I have been investing in Pokemon cards for years now. And just this year started getting around to listing them. Why did it take me so long? Well, one reason was because I was waiting for them to go up in value. And I'm glad that I did that, because it was like waiting on a stock that just shot up in price. Because the things for example, I bought one binder of Pokemon cards that had first edition Charizard in it, which is an orange dragon creature. He's the most famous. You gotta look him up if you don't know. He's the most famous type of Pokemon card to try to get in character. Which is another point, by the way, is that even if you don't know a lot about something, just start researching, getting familiar with what you should look for. Because I knew enough, even though I didn't play the game.
The
I saw
numbers
that
on the cards.
I saw that, and I said, I need to pick this up. So I picked up the entire binder for $50 and just had it sitting there for like a year or so, whatever. And then I saw how hot and how quick these things were selling for. So I listed it, and I sold just the Charizard card for over $600.
Yeah, I've got a few here too. That's the best one to get.
Yeah, that is like the Mickey Mantle of Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
So, but I still have a ton left, and I have some listed in my store. But at a certain point, you got you do your research, and then you got to just say, all right, now it's time to start listing this stuff and branch out to a new area. You don't have to be an expert in every single area that you've got to learn. Everyone's got to start somewhere. So you got to take some risks. You got to take some gambles. I've been doing that a lot this year on my channel with ceramics and glass items and kitchenware types of items, things I traditionally haven't sourced much in the past. And I'm always trying to branch out. So every year it's something new for me.
Yeah, we pick off one. I mean, if once I figure something out, and we either can source it or we can't. If I can't source it readily, I move on to something else. Once I learn something, though, I just keep adding stuff to my repertoire of things to buy.
Right.
That's going to make you more money too. The more you want to know more than the other folks, you want to know more than the people you're buying from. Even if you got the phone, I don't like to bring out the phone when I'm trying to make purchases. I don't want to advertise any more information than I have to. I don't want them knowing I'm a dealer unless I have to. I never lie to them though, but I don't offer any other information. And if you go to a sale, and I've been to many of them that don't really have prices out there, they kind of want to look or play you by the field. The second they see you looking up on the phone, it's up. They got you, and those are the ones I would recommend knowing enough to at least be dangerous without your phone, because there's some places you may not be able to use your phone either. You've got to, don't always rely on the phone. I'm too many people I can just look it up. I can do this. I don't need to know. If you're looking up on the phone too on stuff like that, I don't know how many times I've seen somebody who did a quick look on their phone while they're outsourcing and didn't look enough at the details and what they were buying. It wasn't the exact same item, and they bought it, spent a lot of money, got screwed because they didn't look into it and they didn't know. Like the one case was a toy, and they didn't know that there was 2 versions of it. They didn't know enough about the item. They just did a quick search. Oh wow, it's going for this much. They offered them the money more than the person would have probably sold it to them for, and it was all lost because of something.
That's a good point. That's an example where it could backfire. And you do have to pick your spots. I mean, there's certain times where you got to know what you're dealing with. You got to know where you are. And there are certain people that don't want you looking stuff up and they might get mad. But then again, there's other instances where it's okay to do it. And,
Yeah, of
like if
course.
I'm in a estate sale, for example, there's no one near me, or I'm at I'm at the outdoor flea market, the vendors are distracted by somewhere else or whatever. More often than not, it helps me. But you do have to be careful that, because now on the flip side of that, Don, there are also times where I've come across an item, for example, like let's say it's an advertising piece that I haven't seen before. And without looking it up, I did not realize, for example, that advertising piece was supposed to come with an attachment that's not there. And now
Hanger
this
or a
person who's
bracket.
trying to sell it is trying to sell it for the price that it was on eBay for, or close to it, but they don't have that attachment. So it could go either way sometimes with
Like
that.
a VCR without the cord or the remote.
Well, yeah,
That
right,
comes in the same book
right,
as me and stuff,
right.
You
But like you said, that's the thing, when you gain experience doing this, when you've been doing this for a long time, and you and I have been doing it for a long time, is that there's certain things, we're going to come across it. And we just know. We don't have to look anything up. I mean, a perfect example is the video that I just did on the 2 boxes of vintage magazines and comics that I bought. They almost all went back to the 1940s. There was one in the 1930s and a couple in the 1950s. I explained in the video, all I had, Don, were 2 photographs of the boxes and what was on the top of the boxes. And I just knew from looking at it, she wanted a total of $40, $20 a box. I just knew. I said, what,
done. I'll take it.
I'll pick it up right now. Where are you? Like, you don't always, that's another thing. Like, you don't always have to, like, yeah, I negotiate and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you're getting a great deal.
I don't argue the
The first
price
time,
when it's,
just take the great deal and just
yeah,
go get the
yeah.
great deal. Like, I've already made my money back on that in like 1 or 2 sales.
Like stuff like that. I get dogged if I picked up the magazine, that one we sold for $1,200. People got mad at me for saying what I paid for it and said you ripped the guy off. I paid him what he was asking for.
Right.
I didn't quibble at all with this price. If
Right.
somebody's offered me $10 for
That
something
drives
that
me
I can turn
crazy.
around and sell for $2,000, it's not my fault. Again, your goal is to know more than the other person.
That's right.
Now, if I opened up my phone and looked at it, then he's going to be like, well, what's this guy looking up here? I may have lost it. I took a shot at it. I could have been wrong, but never ever feel guilty about paying what somebody asks. Like with the magazines, he paid $40. I would have probably paid $40 right off the bat. Couldn't get out of my pocket quick enough.
Don, you're gonna love this, because I have again, this is gonna be in my next.
Isn't that where the thumbnail came from? Your picture you sent me?
Which one? Oh,
yeah,
with the magazine one, right?
That
video's out, but I have another one coming out. I've been sending you some pictures of some of the sales. I've put it on my social media. If you go on my Instagram, I sold another one today. These mostly rock and roll. There's some
the
jazz. Okay. These posters. Okay, now there's 20 of them. I got them for $25. Okay, so I paid a little more than a buck a piece. It gets to something you were talking about earlier too. The guy who sold them to me, he got them originally on eBay in a lot. Okay, he got them. He didn't know how to ship them. He told me, he said, I don't know what to do I don't know how to ship them. They're because they're big. They're like 24 by 30. And he's like, I can't find a box that size. And I know you don't need to get a box that size. All you got to do is take big slip sheets of cardboard, bubble wrap it, and you just create some healthy margins around it, and you could just ship it off like that for like $10, even though it's that big. You said priority,
you roll it if you really want.
$10. This can't roll because this is cardboard. It's like a strong cardboard, so it would like snap. And some of these they were like, some of the pieces of the posters were like snapped off, all this kind of stuff.
Get 4 inches. You get 4 inches extra space, and just go down to your box maker and buy sheets of it. Buy half a pallet or whatever you want.
You could do that, right? I just go to Costco and I go to the back where they do the cardboard recycling, and they just give me these big, gigantic cardboard pieces. But the point is that someone didn't recognize how you could ship it, and also didn't recognize that they were valuable because they had some damage to it, but they were 1970s store promo record display posters. And and the other part was the person wasn't familiar with all of the different artists. So
we didn't even look them up.
Right, but the artist names are all on the posters. And I said that to him. He said, I don't even know who these people are. All of them. I know some of them and all of them. I said, but their names are on there. He goes, yeah, but I still don't know who they are. Well, okay, so I have sold several of these posters already for 300, 200, 100. I sold the Allman Brothers today for $80. I have 2 posters. I sold Alice Coltrane for $300. I've got right now the John Lee Hooker poster and the John Coltrane poster up for $1,000. I put it up last night and they each have views.
Yeah, well, you got Coltrane for one. I mean, you can't get much better than that, jazz aficionados.
And John Lee Hooker, man. That's awesome.
They were both alive then.
Huh?
I think they would have both been alive when those were probably printed.
Oh, yeah. They're incredible. So, but anyway, so that I had the knowledge of how they could ship. I recognized that there were things in there that were valuable. I knew that they were valuable despite that. Like there was a Jerry Garcia one that sold for $212.50, but it was really, it was damaged, but it was damaged around the periphery, the actual main picture of Jerry Garcia. I don't know if you ever seen this picture of him before. He's holding a switchblade. It's called Perfect Garcia. It's a very rare photo, and they had it in poster format, and that part of it was awesome. It was, that part was intact, but everything around it was damaged. Corners were cut off and everything. But I knew it would still sell because it's Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia. But I was willing to take the time to, take the photos of that stuff, to cut the cardboard out, to do the whatever research that I needed to do, and get those things listed and get the value out of it. The other person just admitted, I didn't want to. I don't know about them. I see the names. I don't know how to ship them on this side. Here, just take them. They're sitting on the table all day until 3 p.m. Okay. All day at an indoor garage sale. So I picked them up. I got them for 20. He just wanted to get rid of them. So, that's what he wanted. He said, here, all yours, $25.
I would have snapped them up.
Right. So what are you supposed to do?
You give them the $25
right,
and you go home happy as you can be, and you start listening to them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I would. This is something people tell me all the time. You should feel guilty. I don't. It's a business. I'm not a person trying to rip off anybody. I'm a business, and my goal is to buy it cheap and sell it high. That's what every business out there does. As long as you're not being dishonest, you're not lying to somebody, you're truthful in what's going on. I paid what somebody asks, and off we go. End of story here. Let me just shout out one more time too. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, we've got 359 people in-house right now. So
awesome.
Excuse me. Slam that like button if you're enjoying the conversation. Excuse me.
You need some water, Don?
Unsweetened iced tea.
You might need some Mountain Dew. You want some Mountain Dew?
No.
Here you go. Here you go.
Totally sugar-free these days. Keep it
away. Open up.
Keep it away that way. Totally sugar-free. I feel better, honestly, so I can't complain. We're at the hour and a half mark. I didn't realize time went by that quick, so I think maybe we should want to probably wrap it up. I could probably talk all night, but I'm sure nobody wants to hear that either. So
yeah, I got to do some listings.
Yeah, I've got some stuff to do still tonight too. I will probably be on Patreon for a few minutes, but if you want to do a closing thought here and some closing comments.
Yeah. There's a lot of things happening with eBay right now that are outside of our control and that are frustrating, but just continue to try to do everything you can to put things back in control for yourself. Whether that's expanding into new content areas to list, whether that's exploring different platforms. Don't ever feel like you're helpless. Once you feel like you're helpless, it's over. You're not helpless. There's things you could do. There's lots of tips and strategies that you could employ. Take some of the tips that you learned tonight and some of the other ones that you heard on, my own shows and Don's shows and other people's shows, and apply them. Don't give up so easily. I see a lot of people just like, oh, one adverse thing happens and they're done with reselling. There's too much in it for you. I wouldn't just give it up so quickly. So keep at it, keep working hard, and you should be successful.
Definitely. So I want to thank Dom for coming on tonight. Again, Primetime Treasure Hunter. I've got a link to his channel down in there. You definitely need to subscribe and watch his videos as well. Just a couple ending on here. Patreon, there is a new video up. I've responded to a bunch of emails. There was a lot of emails I hit. So if you had anything posted up there, I will get to the last few things still tonight. New video up tomorrow. Halloween, there will be a special show for Halloween on Thursday, next Thursday. So As promised, I will be dressed up for Halloween on the show. We're going to have some fun. Might be some other special things going on too. I was actually talking about that with Don before the show. So will be some stuff coming out for that. My book, my guidebook is still waiting on legal right now. It is sitting in legal. It's already been proofread. I have somebody right now setting it up so it can be in a printed form too for those who are wanting it. So that is coming out soon. It'll be out before Christmas. Patrons, you have the first dibs at a special for you guys too. So again, thank you for coming on. I'm just going to give one more last comment here because it's something I've been seeing a lot. Now, I know a lot of people say if eBay is so bad, why do you keep putting up with them? I'm a business. So if you're a business as well too, don't hop ship yet. Who knows what'll happen in another year? eBay won't always be the dominant factor. There may be other options, but as of right now, even with the dips in sales, you are probably getting more traffic on eBay right now. Hate to say it, but that is the case. So don't jump ship if you want to do this, just like Dom said, as a living. If you're working for somebody else, your obstacles will be far greater than you will ever have as a reseller at your own business. So treat it as your own business, treat it as a business and not as a personal hatred towards eBay. Everybody out there knows I'm not a big fan of those running eBay, but is a viable platform that will make you some money. End of story. That's all you should think about is think about your pocketbook, feeding your wife, your kids, putting a roof over your head, paying your car insurance or whatever the case may be. But we're going to leave it at there. And I do thank everybody for coming on, including Dom once more. Thanks again. And we will let it go at that.